On June 18th at the Bread Shed in Manchester, Catch Pro Wrestling starts The Renaissance, featuring the long-awaited red belt title match between Lizzie Evo and Chantal Jordan. In Lizzie's first defense of her now epic reign, Chantal looked to have the match won but for a foot under the ropes. It's been a long journey back to this point for Jordan, and she finally gets the one-on-one clash she's been looking for nearly 2 years. Will Lizzie's reign end just as it closes in on 700 days? Other talent featuring on the show will include Emerson Jane, Lana Austin, Rio, Ivy, Sapphire Reed, Lucy Sky, Debbie Dharma, Violet Vendetta, and more to be announced. June 18th at the Bread Shed, Manchester. Evo versus Jordan. Head to catchpw.bigcartel.com and use the code STARCAST for 10% off.
Hey, this is Kevin Kelly, and you are listening to the Stardom Cast.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Stardom Cast. This is a podcast where we talk all things about the fantastic professional wrestling company that is Stardom, and we do it in a positive and what I like to think fun manner. I'm your host for this episode. My name is Matt Turner, and unfortunately we are not joined by my good friend and your good friend, one Mr. Rob Goodwin. Rob texted me earlier today. He's a little bit under the weather, so he asked me if I can do this one solo. Absolutely. So I'm going to be flying this plane solo, folks, so I hope you all enjoy this solo podcast episode. I apologize for any inconvenience, and I hope you enjoy taking this trip on the Stardom Cast with me for this week, as we wish Rob well. It's nothing major. He just has a migraine headache that he does get from time to time. So I told him, hey man, rest up. We have a lot of recording to do over the next few days and few weeks. So rest up, and I will handle this one myself. Not a problem at all. So I appreciate you folks bearing with us this week as just hear my my fantastic tones here on the Stardom Cast. We do have a lot to get through, folks. Obviously, we are going to be talking about all the stuff coming up on the Patreon, everything we dropped from this past week, and everything coming up next week and the end of the month as well. Also, we're going to be reviewing the few shows that are up on Stardom World as of yesterday morning. I know as of last night, as of the 16th. I'm recording this on the 17th. I saw that the show from May 7th just went up, I believe, this morning. I only got through the first 3 matches, so I won't be reviewing that entire show. We will be reviewing New Blood 8. And then, obviously, the main event of this show will be Himeka's retirement ceremony, as that is the only thing that went up on from the Cork and Hall show from the 14th of May. And kudos to Stardom and Stardom World for getting at least that segment up ASAP, so we all can enjoy it. And the segment, if you've seen it, the segment is well over an hour long, and it is fantastic. And that'll be the main event of this show, as we talk about the final farewell from the Jumbo Princess herself, Himeka. What a retirement. And again, we'll get into more of that later. But before we get into all of that, all the shows and news and reviews and all that fancy stuff, just want to give a shout out to our new sponsor. It is Catch Pro Wrestling over in Manchester, England. They have a show coming up June the 18th at the Bread Shed in Manchester, Renaissance. And this is going to be headlined by the main event, as Lizzie Evo will be taking on Chantal Jordan. Lizzie Evo is the champion over at Catch Pro Wrestling. and she's coming up on 700 days as champion. So that's a heck of a feat. And this is a rematch from one of the first title defenses in Lizzie's championship reign. And also on this show, you will see names such as Lana Austin, Riho, Ivy, Lucy Sky, Debbie Dahmer, and Violet Vendetta. I love that name, Violet Vendetta. That's a really, really cool name. Reminds me of that Vendetta comic that came out maybe about 15, 16 years ago. So it's, folks, a lot of this stuff is near and dear to my heart. Number one is pro wrestling. That's going to check a box right there. Number two, another thing that's going to check the box for me, women's professional wrestling. I'm sure you all know by now that I am obviously an advocate for women's professional wrestling, or else I wouldn't be doing this podcast. Two, I have seen some of the stuff on YouTube and some of the clips, and this wrestling company does have a lot of promise and a lot of potential. So big fan of that. Big fan of anybody getting in the ring, like Roddy Piper says, anybody that answers the bell, I have the ultimate respect for. So that checks the box. And immediately, something that checks the box for me is the name Catch Pro Wrestling. Catch as Catch Can Pro Wrestling, which pretty much originated and was perfected over in England, something that's very near and dear to my heart. I do spend quite a bit of time learning Catch Pro Wrestling over at the Snake Pit USA in New Jersey, and it's my favorite form of grappling. As much as I like the judo and the jiu-jitsu, I've done a little bit of that, but I'm a huge, huge advocate for Catch as Catch Can professional wrestling. And if you're ever in an MMA gym or any gym, and there's somebody that knows it's worth their salt, that knows a little bit about Catch Pro Wrestling, by all means, do what you can to do to get a lesson, because Catch as Catch Can Pro Wrestling, to me, in my opinion, is the number one form of grappling. So if you head over to catchpw.bigcartel.com for tickets and use the code STARCAST, STARCAST, 10% off your order. And folks, what I'll be doing is on my social medias, I will be retweeting this and posting everything I possibly can to get Catch Pro Wrestling over in Manchester, England, to help it get as big as possible. Because I always say at the end of each episode, we're all in this together. We're all just trying to grow together. There's no reason why we all can't help each other. So I'm super excited to see how this show is going to go coming up in about 1 month's time over there in Manchester, England. Okay, folks. There's an old saying that bad things come in threes. And the world of Stardom is no exception to this. We had Himeka's retirement. Again, we'll obviously be talking about that towards the end of the show. Number two, we had Hana's theme change, which it's just breaks our hearts. Even though the new one is pretty good, it is pretty catchy as well, and it is catching on to me. But I don't know, maybe might be time to let that one go. But that's number two. And number three, apparently from the press conference that we saw last week, our sweet Natsupoi all of a sudden has a foul mouth, a potty mouth, as we say in my household. If you've seen the press conference, you know what I'm talking about. Her and Tekla to hype up the Artist of Stardom Championship match between Restart and Donald Del Mundo. Kind of got into a little bit with a lot of basically just F-bombs being dropped left and right. Something I expect from Tekla. Obviously, she's pretty much like the death metal queen. But from sweet innocent Natsupoi dropping that many F-bombs, kind of broke my heart a little, Natsupoi. Unbelievable. Just terrible. I mean, maybe Tekla's was influenced in there. Maybe she was goading her a little bit. But, the sweet Natsupoi, sweet innocent Natsupoi dropping F-bombs like they're going out of style. I was just thinking about this about 2 weeks ago. My daughter had her senior prom. I was kind of thinking, boy, how fun it would be to go to the prom with like the members of the Stardom roster. You'd see Micah probably like spiking the punch, Hazuki kicking the DJ in the face if there was a song playing that she didn't like. And I think Natsupoi would be like the funnest person to go to the prom with, right? She'd come out with her baton. She'd do that little no-hand flip thing that she does when she does her entrance. When the ring announcer calls her name. We'd be doing the Meltear dance on the floor, the Cosmic Angels dance on the floor. 1 minute she's got long hair, the next minute she's got short hair with the crown. I think Natsupoi would be like the perfect person to go to the prom with. But now after this press conference, folks, I don't think that you can take Natsupoi to the prom. I know, I did all my prom pictures, way back when over my grandparents' house, and couldn't have her there because she'd be dropping F-bombs on my mom and my sweet Aunt Marge. Couldn't have that. Can't have that. But all kidding aside, Natsupoi's great. She really is an unsung hero in Stardom the last 2 years and has just put on a lot of bangers here the last 3 or 4 months. And I am super excited for that match coming up at the end of the month at Flashing Champions. And that is a show that Rob and I will be previewing and giving our predictions, which we will more than likely have more than half of them wrong. So, yeah, super excited for that. Yeah, let's get into the shows, shall we? First off, big thank you to good friend, super friend and fan of the show, one Mr. Darren Chatton. Talked to Darren quite a bit. He does help us out with a lot of the numbers as far as what Stardom is drawing and the house numbers. And Rob does a really good job doing his research. But obviously, Rob, again, sending me a message early this morning. I asked Darren if he could help me out with the numbers. And pretty much within about 15 or 20 minutes, gave me all the numbers for the shows that I'm going to be reviewing. So as always, Darren, greatly appreciate your help on the numbers. Oh, see, this is where Rob comes into handy. I'm already all over the place. Let's go over the Patreon. I literally wrote down a step-by-step to-do list. Let's go over what's going on the Patreon. There is a lot going on. We just released this past Monday alternate commentary from Stardom the Highest 2013, Yuzuki Ayakawa taking on Meiko Satomura. And I've never seen that match before. When Rob and I called it, that was the first time I've seen that match as a whole. And if you like brutal striking, easy storytelling, and just hard-hitting action, that match is for you. Had an absolute blast calling that match. Also, this past week, we did release, I did a review of all of Hazuki's attempts at the Wonder of Stardom Championship, the white belt. All 5 of her attempts. So Kairi versus Io versus Momo Watanabe versus Arisa Hoshinki, and of course from just earlier this year versus Saya Kamatani. And I had a fantastic time going back watching those matches and a fantastic time recording that podcast. I wasn't sure how that was going to come off, to be honest with you, because the subject matter, we've been doing the Patreon a little over a year now, and the subject matter is somebody that is on the losing end of every single one of those matches. So I wasn't sure how that was going to go about. And as this recording, we just released that episode, about 48 hours ago, and I've gotten loads and loads of positive feedback and positive response. So many of you have reached out to me, and thank you. I appreciate that. And told me how much you love the Hazuki, her journey, her continued journey for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. And thank you. I really appreciate that, because kind of in the back of my head, this is something that I might want to do. Again, the subject matter, eating a whole bunch of losses, but at the same time, at that stage of her career, every single one of those matches, even though she lost, she comes out better then. So again, wrestling's really the only sport that it's that you can lose but really win. And Hazuki, even though she went 0-5, she really went 5-0. So considering the fact that of all the positive responses I got from that Hazuki episode, I will be looking at Momo Watanabe, all of her attempts for the red belt. That'll be going up on a Patreon poll sometime in the future, and as well as Jungle Kiona. Not enough Jungle Kiona love on the Stardom cast, and I'm just such a huge, huge fan of Jungle Kiona. I'm also going to be putting up on the Patreon poll sometime in the future all of her attempts at the Wonder and World of Stardom Championship as well. So this was kind of the catalyst to see if it was going to work, and obviously, again, within 48 hours, loads of positive responses. So I thank you on that. Speaking of Hazuki, this coming up this Monday coming up, easy for me to say, this week coming up next week, Rob and I will be releasing Hazuki versus Arisa Hoshinki for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. So I got to watch that match twice in about 7 days. And this past time I watched it, we just watched yesterday and recorded yesterday, was Rob and I doing the alternate commentary. Had an absolute blast watching that match back. And again, we've been getting over this past weekend, I got loads and loads of messages of everybody loving the alternate commentary, what we're doing on there. And, when that got done recording, I really felt that Rob and I hit our stride. I think that we do better each and every outing with the alternate commentaries. Just goes to show you, just got to keep getting reps in. And I thought, if you folks are enjoying the alternate commentaries, I think this one that we just wrapped up recording literally 24 hours ago as I'm recording this episode between Hazuki and Arisa Hoshinki. I think that was our best outing. one, the source material, the lyrics that we're able to provide the song to is absolutely fantastic. If you've seen that match, you know what I'm talking about. Arisa and Hazuki just absolutely go full blast at each other for about 15 or 16 minutes. I just thought Rob and I, our flow was dead on perfect. Because I just think that we're getting better each and every time out there. So again, thank you everybody for the fantastic comments and the support on that one. Next week on the show, when we do this part of the Patreon, we are going to letting everybody know what we're doing for the month of June, as far as the what if. The what if we're going to be releasing, obviously, at the end of, again, I'm getting ahead of myself. I apologize. By the end of this month, the Suzu Suzuki, the bi-weekly podcast, Suzu Suzuki 2022 5-star Grand Prix. That'll be up on your feeds. I'm about halfway done with the homework on that. And my homework, I have an absolute blast watching these matches. And then at the end of the month, the what if, the new segment on this podcast, what if Hazuki beat Sai Kamatani for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. I said about 2 weeks ago, this month, the month of May, is intentionally like Hazuki Patreon month, as we got a lot of Hazuki on this month for the Patreon. I'm sure nobody's complaining, as Hazuki's fantastic. But anywho, coming up next month, we will review next week when we do this segment what we have going on next month for the month of June. We do know that for the alternate commentary, we're going to be honoring the life and career of Hana Kimura, and we're also going to be honoring the career of Himeka. So what Rob and I decided to do for the alternate commentary for the month of June, we'll both be picking one Hana Kimura match, and we'll both be picking one Himeka match to watch, and that'll give us the 4 weeks for the month of June that we will be releasing the alternate commentary. And then we'll be releasing what our roundtable discussion is going to be and our what if, what that'll be for the month of June. And as far as the bi-weekly podcast goes, by the time you hear this, I might have the poll up on Twitter just to kind of get ahead of schedule. In the States, at the end of next week, we do have Memorial Day, so I do have some time coming off for work. So with the holiday, so I want to take advantage. So probably by the time you listen to this, either Friday morning or maybe sometime on Saturday, just check out the Twitter. I will have the poll of what the options will be for the bi-weekly podcast for the month of June. Okay, I guess that is everything for the Patreon. As always, suggestions for what if, roundtable discussion, what Himeka match you want us to review, or for the alternate commentary, what Hana Kimura match you want us to review for the alternate commentary. Let us know. We kind of have an idea where we want to go for the month of June, but we are always open to suggestions. So let's get into this show we're going to go to May 3rd in, boy, I tell you what, this is where Rob's always the best, Simo Shinki. I probably butchered that. In front of 341 people, and the opening match was a three-way, which saw Mei Sakurai get the win with the top rope elbow drop that Rob hates all so much against Ruaka and Aya Sakurai. Aya Sakurai is really improving at a fast rate, as well as Hanako as well, which we'll get into. But I thought it was a good opener. You have three wrestlers. You're only getting about 5 minutes. I gave it the gentleman's 3 stars, but really like the quick improvement already of Aya Sakurai, and they've really put her, she's on every show. She's wrestling, the best wrestlers in the world in Stardom, so she's only going to get better. So I'm super excited to see where she's going to be in the next 8 to 12 months. Match number 2 saw the O2 line team, the Queen's Quest team of Izumi and Miyu Hamasaki, taking on Hanako, which I just talked about, and Jesse from Club Venus, which saw Izumi get the Izumi Sushi on Hanako for the 3 count in 9 minutes, 25 seconds. I thought this was really, really good, and the crowd really enjoyed this. That made the match so much better. Izumi and Miyu Hamasaki really gel well together. Miyu, who, when she started coming off their first 3 or 4 matches, looked really, really good, and then she was kind of stop with injuries. She seemed like maybe she was a little timid to really go out there and kind of throw her stuff out there, because maybe she was a little afraid of injuries. That happens time to time. You always hear boxers or MMA fighters that have fought for years that have never been knocked out, and then once they get knocked out like one time, it kind of changes, their career. Look like a Chuck Liddell, whatnot legend, but once Rampage Jackson broke that iron will jaw, Chuck's career was pretty well downhill from there. Anywho, another story for another day. There's my MMA rant. But Miyu Hamasaki is really, really improving here. She's in there with Izumi. Jessie looks great. Hanako is doing a fantastic job early on in her career. This was terrific. And I would have had about 3.5 stars, but I bumped it up a quarter star to 3 3/4 stars just based on the crowd intensity in this match. And really, when you're in the ring, that's what you want to do. You really just want to make sure the crowd is enjoying themselves and you're giving themselves a great reaction and they go home happy from your match. And that's what they did. Miyu Hamasaki, another one in this absolutely stacked Stardom roster that is just improving by leaps and bounds. And she's just only going to get better by being in the ring with the absolute best. So I'm super excited to see where her career goes, in the next 6 to 8 months. Match number 3, absolute must-see match from this show. This was great. I text Rob as soon as I got done watching this match saying, hey, I know we have so many shows to review pending on when Stardom World does get uploaded, but this is an absolute must-see match. Saw the former tag team champions Black Desire, Starlight Kid, and Momo Watanabe from Oedo Tai defeating one of our favorite underneath tag teams that we hope so bad gets pushed to the top here in 2023. The Stars team of Wingori, Saida, and Hana. This is really good. Wingori, they start out the match by using some double teams to get the advantage on the former tag champs. Momo Watanabe and Hana was excellent. And then we get some really good stuff with Starlight Kid and Hana. But where this match really shined for me, I like my hard-hitting wrestling, was Momo Watanabe and Saida just trading kicks and chops. That was really, really entertaining for me. You kind of saw it coming. And once it came, it's like, oh man, it's like, when you're at a steakhouse, if you like steak, and yeah, you order your steak and it's coming. As soon as it comes, you're just so happy because there it is right there, right? The main crux of the match. But you also did get some really good double teamwork from both these teams, which I thought was really well. And the end of this match was just a super gross Momo Watanabe hitting a gross right on her head inhumane driver to Saida. We say it all the time on the show. Push Saida. I know this roster is stacked. Get her a handful of wins. Get Wingori a couple wins. Build them up. Get them a tag team title shot against the New Era's Mariah and Ami Sohrei. We would love to see that. Hana's fantastic. Saida, she's just so good. She got no problem. Obviously she throws the chops and the lariats, and she got the Ida Bushi and the Ida Rock, and then she does like a Samoa Joe crazy muscle buster as well when they allowed her to put it, allow her to get some W's. But boy, she doesn't have any fear of taking these brutal kicks and forms and dropped on her head because this inhumane driver was something else. And I know there's a lot going on in Stardom World. They just released the three-way from Sakura Genesis with Izumi, Hazuki, and Mercedes Monet. So if you're kind of picking and choosing where you want to go and what matches you want to watch, this is an absolute must-watch match. It only goes 8 minutes and 29 seconds. I gave it 4 stars. This was great, and I hope they run this match back with a little bit more time. Just absolutely terrific. Match number 4 saw the Queen's Quest team of Lady C, Sai Kamatani, Utami Hayashishita defeating kind of the makeshift team of Yuna Mizumoro, Mei Seira, and Suzu Suzuki when Saya catches Yuna Mizumoro with the Hurricanrana Frankensteiner pin combination for 3, 9 minutes and 20 seconds. This was really solid work. Nice to see Queen's Quest get a win here, as they're teasing a little bit of a breakup here. They even teased it in the Himeka retirement match, again, which we'll get in towards the main event here of the podcast. So nice to see them get a win here. Suzu Suzuki and Mei Seira works really, really well together. And Rob mentioned, as a joke, but he might be right, maybe they're just teaming Mei Seira up with Suzu Suzuki to get Suzu for that tag league run at the end of the year with Fukin Death, Tequila Death. There it is, TD, touchdown, as we say here in the States. So really good stuff. Yuna Mizumoro was another one that really impressed me on these shows as well. Again, an absolutely loaded Stardom roster. And we don't talk that she's been on a lot of the Stardom shows over the last 5 or 6 months. So I wonder if she's like signed or if she just like that's her number one commitment. But she's looked really well in these matches as well. And Suzu Suzuki, we got to see her with Saya Kamatani. We got to see her mix it up with Utami Hayashishita. I thought that stuff was really good. And I mentioned before on the Patreon that I'm just about putting the finishing touches on the Suzu Suzuki 2022 5-star run I watched yesterday. The Suzu versus Sai Kamatani match. That's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. We thought that was a match that we were going to get for the white belt down the road, since Suzu did get the win there. But obviously, Sai Kamatani, her her deck was stacked up anyway. But regardless, really, really good stuff. The May Sarah stuff's really good. I like how she works the foot. Like she's a high-speed wrestler, and she's one of the fastest in the company. And what she does early on is like she'll stomp on the foot to be like give herself even a bigger advantage. And that's something that I've actually seen Izumi do. Kind of going back watching some matches from late last year. I've seen Izumi like stomp on the foot. I'm like, I wonder if she got that from May Sarah. Or did May steal it from Izumi? That I'm not sure of, but regardless, I think it's a really cool little psychology spot. Okay, I'm gonna even get even a faster advantage. Again, 3 3/4 stars. Match number 5 saw the Meltier team, Tam Nakano and Natsupoi, taking on the team of Saki Kashima and Natsutoro, representing of a Oedo Tai, with Natsupoi hitting Saki with a Ferial Gift in 9 minutes 33 seconds. Solid match, 3 3/4 stars. Thought this was really good. Natsuko Torres, she's another one that ever since coming back from her injury, she was out over a year when she blew her knee out on that World of Stardom Championship match with Utami back in 2021. And she's another one that's been absolutely crushing it, that we just don't give enough flowers to, enough credit for. She looked really, really good here in this match, really just brutalizing Tam in some spots. And then obviously, I like how whenever in these male tier matches, when one of them, either Tam or Natsupoi, gets into trouble, they do like 1 or 2 double teams and it swings the door advantage back for male tier. Shows that why they were the tag champs for as long as they were. Wish they had a longer run, but obviously they had bigger plans for one Miss Tam Nakano, the current red belt champion. Another solid match. Match number 6 saw the Club Venus team of Mina Shirakawa, Mariah May, Waka Tsukiyama, and Xena defeat the God's Eye team. Excuse me, I have that one wrong. They lost to the God's Eye team of Shiri, Amisori, Kunami, and Mirai when we saw Amisori hit the Blue Thunder Bomb on Xena. This was another really, really solid match. We didn't get enough Shiri versus Mina here. I thought maybe that would be something they would kind of maybe tease a little bit. But I think Konami, boy, she's been on a lot of shows lately. She had her kind of the end of 2021 with that match with Julia, that unofficial Hana Komura tribute match. She kind of said she didn't take time away. She came back during Golden Week last year, and then we've noticed the last 3 or 4 months she's been on a lot of shows, even doing some more singles matches. So maybe we'll get more of a full-time Konami as the summer rolls around, and maybe we'll get her in the 5-star Grand Prix, because this roster just absolutely loading up. Not only is this roster loaded up, but everybody's getting so much better. I would love to see like a Konami versus Saii, a 10-12 minute match, a Konami versus Miyu Hamasaki match, a Konami versus Mina Shirakawa. A lot of really, really good stuff that we can see. I did enjoy how Amisori and Mirai, they really separated themselves in this match with their teamwork. Makes sense. It's a tag team match. They are the goddess of Stardom tag team champions, so by proxy, they're the #1 team in all of Stardom. So I like how they use that to get their advantage. And then the Shiri Konami teamwork was just basically them kick sandwiching everybody. Where, back before him, a lot of Himeka talk on this podcast. Back before Himeka's retirement, you would see Mike and Himeka, they would do the lariat sandwich, where we've been seeing Konami and Shiri doing the kick sandwich, which brings a smile to my face. All in all, though, solid match. Again, 3 3/4 stars. The main event saw the team of Miyu Iwatani, Hazuki, and Kogama taking on the Stars team, taking on and defeating the non-dimensional team of Micah, Tekla, and Julia. This match was just nuts. I mean, right from the get-go, we're seeing more of a, I'm not going to say heelish, more of a aggressive tweener, Donald Del Mundo. And as soon as the bell rang, we saw this, because it turned out into like an Oedo tie, all over the place brawl. And then Mayu decides to climb up on the Stardom bus, which you're kind of like, why is it in the building? And you get to think like, oh, it's just for the fans, for a photo op, to go by the Stardom bus and take a picture. That's what you're kind of disguising it as. That's the magic trick you don't want people to see. But you should know darn well, this, from what I understand, this is the building that Mayu saw her first wrestling show, which I believe was a Dragon Gate show. If I'm wrong, please correct me. And really, where it kind of changed her life around, where her brother brought her to a wrestling show, which again I believe was a Dragon Gate show, and right from there, in that building, she decided she wanted to become a professional wrestler, and kind of a building that changed all of our lives. If you listen to this show, you're obviously a huge fan of Stardom, and Stardom would not be what it was today, or may not be existence without the icon, without one Mayu Iwatani. But so when Mayu decides, since this was the building that's probably the biggest influence on her, she decides to go on the top of this bus and do a picture-perfect dive onto everybody, on all the members of Stars, Donald Del Mundo. There might have been a few of the trainees there as well, but boy, it was scary. But they did a great job catching her. She's just absolutely nuts. And then the match stays crazy. You get the three-way boot scrapes from Koguma, Hazuki, and Mayu. And then we get some really stiff strikes with Hazuki and Julia, really, giving me a little bit of a flashback to the night one main event of the 5-Star Grand Prix, one of the best matches on one of the best tournament shows ever. Really good stuff there. Everybody is, the crowd is just so hot for this match. Again, this is another must-see match. I mentioned Wingori versus Black Desire. As great as that was, the crowd was a little bit more into this, and it gave him a little bit more time. Eventually, we get the 3-dumb dropkick on poor Tekla, and then Mayu follows up with the moonsault. 4 stars. So, yeah, go out of your way to see 2 matches on the show, this main event, just for the pure chaos that is Mayu jumping off a giant bus. And they gets a replay. Sometimes Stardom on these quote unquote road to house shows doesn't get a replay, but that giant dive sure does. And then a match that I don't think a lot of people are going to talk about, but go out of your way to see it. It's less than 10 minutes long. Momo Watanabe Starlight Kid taking out Saida and Hana. We will move on, folks, to the show that took place May 5th in Kunamoto. Again, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. In front of 404 people, the opener saw Hana get the win over Aya Sakurai and Starlight Kid with the Hana special on Aya, hitting the Hana special on Aya Sakurai for the 3 count. Again, Aya Sakurai, they're putting her in there with Hanan, who, even though she's only 18 years old, she wrestles like she's a 10-year vet. Starlight Kid's one of the best, not only in Stardom, but in the world as well. And Starlight Kid, you can just tell, just from her entrance alone, the way she acts with the fans, she is literally a day away from being a top babyface. If they want to pull the trigger on Starlight Kid, she's just so good and so endearing to the crowd. Like, what's to dislike? But again, Aya Sakurai, she's only going to be improving when she's in the ring with the likes of Han and Starlight Kid. 3.25 stars. Match number 2 saw the O2 line team getting another win as Izumi and Miyu Hamasaki defeats Hanako and Ami Sori. So again, you got 2 more powerhouses against the 2-speed wrestlers. When we see Hanako, Miyu Hamasaki getting the inside leg O'Connor roll on a Hanako for the 3 count in 8 minutes, 49 seconds, 3.25 stars. My one note here is O2 line, they're getting so good together. And maybe once, I think at the end of the month, I think Izumi's going to be dropping that high-speed championship and that 3-way with Fukian Death and Saki Kashima. But maybe when they're building Izumi up in the spring and summer towards the one of the 2 bigger belts, maybe they'll give Izumi Miyu Hamasaki, nice little tag run. Not saying they'll win the tag belts, but I wouldn't mind seeing them getting a whole bunch of wins. Or I'd love to see Izumi Miyu versus Wingori. I think that'd be a great match. Maybe they put that as like a co-main event on a New Blood show. You want to sell tickets and pop YouTube views? There you go. Ami Sori looked really good here, but I think she did a good job staying out of the way, letting Hanako get some of the work in here to get her some more reps. Again, the double team work from Miyu and Izumi was really, really on point here, and I'm super excited to see where they go with these 2. Match number 3 saw the Donda team of Maika and Mai Sakurai defeating the Club Venus team of Jesse and Mina. Mike and Mina, maybe that's where they're going to be going somewhere soon, because the whole crux of the match only went 8 minutes, 41 seconds. But really the main meat of the match was Mina and Maika. And they had some really good chemistry together. It's just really the 2 of them kind of just clubbing, just beating the crap out of each other. Eventually, Maika hits the Mijinoko driver on Jesse for the 3 count. 3.25 stars. Again, not one that go out of your way to see, but there is some interesting things that I think they're building up with very aggressive Maika and a very heelish Mai Sakurai, but especially Maika and Mina. They had some flashes in the match. They got enough to get you in, just kind of wet your beak a little, but not enough to give away the farm. And I really liked how they did that there. So, and it's really interesting how they've been building up Club Venus. They did a great job as soon as they came in. They built them up. They weren't eating many or any losses, really. Mina wins the Wonder of Stardom Championship, but now they're trying to break them down a little, where they're starting to lose some of these bigger tag matches against, Maika, obviously. It's a big star in the company, somebody that they're really, really invested in, especially now that she has this, the new red hair and this new, red-ass, badass attitude. It's interesting to see where they're going to go with her from here, but I would love to see Himeka versus Mina Shirakawa Wonder Stardom Championship match. I bet you, mark these words, folks, I bet you sometime in the summer we're going to get that match on one of the 18 pay-per-views that Stardom's going to give us between now and the 5-star. Match number 4 saw the God's Eye team of Mirai, Shuri, and Konami defeat the Club Venus team. Here it is. They lost 2 in a row here of Xena, Waka, and Mariah May. Mirai taps out Waka with the double wrist lock at 12 minutes 28 seconds, 3.5 stars. The Xena Suri stuff was really good, and then that paired off into Waka and Konami. I thought the Waka and Konami stuff was really, really good back and forth. How Konami was trying to use her strikes to isolate Waka, but Waka was just trying to maybe catch a leg or catch an arm to roll Konami up. There's a really, really good story there. And Mariah May, I said every week on the podcast, I'm going to say it again. She just is improving leaps and bounds, not only on her character work and not only on her entrance, but what she does in the ring, both on an offensive and a defensive way as well. She's a great job selling, great job feeding, great job making her opponents look better than they already do. And she makes sure that her stuff looks good as well. Suri and Konami, like I said in the day before, kick sandwich on poor Waka, and if that's not bad enough, Waka decides to eat. Not decides, Mirai decides to deliver several lariats to Waka that eventually sets up the double wrist lock. Again, another fun match. Glad it got the time that it did. Match number 5 saw the Widow Tai team of Momo Watanabe, Saki Kashima, Ruaka, and Natsuko Tora defeating the Stars team of Mayu Iwatani, Saida, Hazuki, and Koguma when Saki catches Koguma in the Kishi Kasai, 11 minutes 14 seconds. This is really good. I had this at 3 3/4 stars. I like how you kind of figured the Stars team would get the win here because you have Mayu, who obviously is the star of stars, pun intended. You have Hazuki and Koguma, the former, FWC, the former 2-time Goddess champions, and Saida is fantastic as well. But this makes sense. They're building Saki Kashima up towards another shot at the High Speed Championship. And I thought it made sense how her and Koguma towards the end, they did a little high speed flash pins back and forth, and Saki getting the pin over Koguma, the high speed genius. I thought that was a really good way to pump Saki up. Hazuki, of course, is just super intense here. The Saya and Momo stuff, even though it wasn't as much as I'd like for it to be, it was still violent. You got the Hazuki versus Momo Watanabe violence. However, they were kind of overshadowed by the violence done by Natsuko Tora and Saida as well. Again, kind of 2 unsung heroes in this crazy stacked Stardom roster. I thought their stuff was the best stuff of the match, and they did a great job kind of mowing down the violence and then shifting the violence over to some high-speed stuff to highlight Saki Kashima. Really great booking on this match. Match number 6, the co-main event of the show, saw the makeshift team of Suzuki and Mei Sarah, which I'm loving this team, defeating the Don Damondo team of Julia and Tekla. Tekla, if you remember, is about this time last year, she had a shot at Izumi's High Speed Championship. I believe that's the match she injured her either shoulder or her tricep that eventually kept her on the shelf, and she missed the 5-star. So Tekla gets in there with Mei Sarah, and they have like a mini high-speed match. I thought that was really, really good. And then we get some stuff with Suzuki and Julia. Just enough, again, to kind of wet the beak a little. Don't know where they're going with that one there. Obviously, they have the fantastic match, the 5-star final at the end of in October. And then they have that really, really good World of Stardom Championship match at the anniversary show at Nagoya Supreme Fight. A match that every time I watch it gets better and better and better. So they did a good job kind of teasing that there as well. And Tekla and Suzuki had a really good run here, especially towards the end where eventually some really hard-hitting just kicks, bent forearms, back and forth. Tekla really ramping up the intensity in these shows, especially this match, especially with somebody like Suzuki. Like we've been mentioning on the show these past few weeks that the Don Damondo team is getting more aggressive. And Tekla I've noticed it in these 2 shows here. She's really aggressive with her strikes. She's really getting more cocky and comfortable with her persona and really pouring on the aggression, which I really, really enjoy. Kind of fits her personality so much better, and she's really trying to fill out better as a character and a performer, which, again, I will take all day, every day. Great final, like 2 minutes with her and Suzuki. Eventually, Suzu pins Tekla with the tequila shot. 13 minutes, 21 seconds, 3 3/4 stars. We get to the main event of the show, the Yuna Mizumoro homecoming match, as Yuna teams with Meltier, Tam Nakano, Natsupoi to defeat the Queen's Quest team of Utami Aishista, Lady C, and Saya Kamatani when Yuna Mizumoro pins Lady C with a top rope splash. 13 minutes, 50 seconds. I would have had this at 3.5 stars, but hot crowd bumps it up for me. There's your bonus points. 3 3/4 stars. That stuff was really good. You had Meltier double teaming Lady C in the beginning to get the early advantage. Yuna had a great sequence with Saya Kamatani, which then sets up a great sequence with Natsupoi and Saya Kamatani. You remember their Wonder of Stardom Championship match from, I believe, February of last year. It was an absolutely fantastic show-stealing match, one of the best matches of last year from how many great matches Saya Kamatani had for that Wonder of Stardom Championship. And then we get some stuff, speaking of great matches for the Wonder of Stardom Championship from last year, from night 1 of World Climax. Night 2 of World Climax. Saya Kamatani and Tam Nakano, they have a great sequence there. Those two can't miss as well. Again, Yuna really steps up her game here. We get some mini double teams, mini teamwork with Aphrodite versus Meltier. That was a match that I would love to see for the Goddess of Stardom Championship back when Tam and Natsupoi were the champions. But hey, sometimes you can't always get what you want, but you can get what you need. And what we need here was a solid match. Again, Lady C, her stuff looked really good here. And Lady C did a top rope. I wish Rob was here. I literally circled and highlight this on my notes. I wish he was here so I can brag about this one. Lady C did the top rope Baba Chop. Not Great Kali Chop, Rob. She did the top rope Baba Chop, which is she should put that as her finisher. That should be her new super finisher. So all in all, solid show. And let's go to the show that happened last Friday. New Blood 8. Probably, in my opinion, the most loaded New Blood card as I'm going through my notes here. You can probably hear the pages turning. Just because, there it is, found it. This show took place May 12th, obviously 2023, in front of 407 people. It looked like it was a loaded, stacked show. Probably, like I just mentioned, probably my favorite New Blood show of the 8. They did a great job loading this show up and then kind of giving, the way that the card structure was as well. They did a perfect job really putting the card structure together. Match number 1 saw Waka defeat Aya Sakurai with the reverse X Factor. We saw Waka locking in a rear naked choke, so we're getting some submissions out of Waka. This was a fine match, good opener, didn't go too long, 3 stars. Match number 2, this was fantastic, was the sisters versus the sisters. We had the Inaba sisters taking on Hana and Hina. We've seen Hana and Hina, even though Hana's obviously in Stars and Hina is obviously in Queen's Quest. We've seen them team a few times on these New Blood shows, and they're really good together. Obviously, if you're listening to, or if you're a part of our Patreon, I did Hana's her complete Future of Stardom Championship run, where the best match, in my opinion, of that run was the 15-minute draw. She went with the Tomoka Inaba, and they kind of revisit that stuff there. There's some really good sequences there. And Tomoka's younger sister, she's great. I mean, she's only been wrestling only a handful of months, maybe 5-6 months, if that. And considering the fact that Tomoka's, I think, the oldest person in this match at like 19 or 20 years old, just goes to show you the youth movement in Joshi wrestling. This was great. I hope they run this back. Obviously went to a time limit draw. I think they just kind of tease a little bit what they can do. The main crux and story of this match was basically karate versus judo. So you had striking versus grappling. And they did a really good job playing that up. 15-minute time limit draw. Obviously, we'll see a little bit more from the Inaba sisters later on in the night. Match number 2 is Suzu Suzuki and Mei Seira defeating the team of Mei Sakurai and Chan Yoda when Suzu Suzuki hits the tequila shot on Mei Sakurai for the 3 count. I had this at 3.5 stars. This was some really good stuff here. Mei Sakurai really does a great job. They give her more time, and I know she's getting a little bit of a push now with her ladyship gimmick and the fact that she's cutting promos after matches, win, lose, or draw. Her and Chan Yoda have a really good chemistry together. We've seen in the New Blood Tag Tournament, but they do a good job giving Mei Sakurai a little bit more time and focusing on her in these New Blood shows because she's not lost in the shuffle of being in there with a Julia, Micah, depending on who's on the other side, Mayu, Hazuki, Utami, so on and so forth. So she does a great job maximizing every second she has in the ring here. There's some really good sequences with the two Meis. I thought that was some really fun stuff. We saw Mei Sakurai on her horse a little bit here, maybe a little high speed action there. Suzu Suzuki, though, the end of the match, she just ramped up. She's just a machine, just suplexing and form and kicking everybody. Again, hitting the tequila shot on Mei Sakurai for the 3 count. 3.5 stars. We go to match number 4, Momo Watanabe versus Miyu Hamasaki. When we previewed the show last week, I told Rob this is a match I was really looking forward to. I know this wasn't going to be any like 4.5 star classic, but Momo Watanabe's terrific. Miyu Hamasaki is improving by leaps and bounds these last 2 or 3 months, so this was something I was really looking forward to, and I absolutely love this. I mean, Momo knew she was going to bring the fight, knew she was going to take it to the youngster. That's just her character and a way to tie. Early in the match, we get the brawl all throughout the building and, basically just laying the kicks. And then Miyu just comes back very much like she did with her match with Sherry at, I believe, New Blood Premium? New Blood Premium. Excuse me. So she really did a great job bringing the fight here to back to Momo. There's one spot that Momo brings out the bat. They didn't do a good enough job turning the ref. I think Momo might have been taking too long of a time. But literally, the ref catches Momo with the bat shot. He even kind of looks at it like, come on. I don't like that. Don't like cheating in front of the referee. But regardless, Miyu does a great job. She comes back with a handspring elbow. And she really stays aggressive on Momo's knee, doing the drop kick to the knee and doing that rolling knee bar that she does really well. She does a great job hooking it in. Ultimately, though, Momo winds up breaking out the Meteoras and then hits the Inhumane Driver for a 3 count. 3 3/4 stars. Love this match. Love the progression of Miyu Hamasaki. I love Momo Watanabe, who's just 22, 23 years old, is like such a seasoned vet at taking the younger wrestlers under her wing, and she was able to give Miyu so much in this match and did a great job making Miyu look good. Match number 5, a match that Rob is really looking for. Nene Takahashi versus Ruaka, as Nene gets the win over Ruaka with a series of lariats. Basically another passion injection match. These two were just really hard hitting. In the words of Jim Ross, bowling shoe ugly, but in the best way possible. Just a hard hitting match going back and forth. Nene Takahashi doing a great job pulling out these younger wrestlers and just getting the most out of them. Obviously, we've seen it with Waka. We've seen it with Miyu Hamasaki. I thought this match was really good as we've been seeing Ruaka ever since the Tag League tournament really picking up her game, and it's on full display here. I had to say 3 3/4 stars. This is great, and I would love to see a Hana versus Nene Takahashi match. She's done a great job pulling up this younger talent. Hana, who at 18 years old is like 6-7 months away from being on the cuffs of getting like a Wonder World of Stardom Championship match that I don't think anybody would complain about. I'd love to see the Hana versus Nene Takahashi match somewhere down the line. Match number 6, we go to our one of 2 championship matches. This show was I like how they're doing this with the New Blood Tag Team Championships and the Future Stardom Tag Team Champions. Tag Team Champions, the Future Stardom Championship. As seems like we're getting title matches on these New Blood shows now. So now you're kind of you're making these shows even more important. So I think this is a great job. But this was a great match as we saw Karma and Starlight Kid have their V1 against Hanako and Lady C. This was an excellent match. Starlight Kid gets the Momo latch on Hanako for the 3 count. Karma and Starlight Kid have really good chemistry together. There's a reason why they put the New Blood Tag Team Championships on them. And it just goes to show you how great Starlight Kid is as an individual wrestler and a tag wrestler. Obviously, early in her career, the MK sisters, her and Mayu, were terrific together. We've seen her and Momo Watanabe terrific together as a tag team, former Goddess of Stardom champions. And then her, Momo, and Saki Kashima had a great run as the Artists of Stardom Trios champions. And now her with Karma. So it just goes to show you, young Starlight Kid, not only is she great in the singles, as a singles wrestler, but tag team wrestler as well. Really, really good stuff here. Again, Hanako wrestles well above her experience, and Lady C is another one that's ever improving. I thought this was really good. They did a great job building up. Based almost like a David versus Goliath story. You have, the much smaller yet faster and more seasoned wrestlers, maybe even a little more aggressive wrestlers, and Starlight Kid and Hanukkah, or Starlight Kid and Karma, and then you kind of have the bigger, stronger powerhouses and Lady C and Hanako. Easy story to tell, and they did a great job telling the story. Again, 3 and 3/4 stars. After the match, we see the Inaba sisters come out and challenge for the New Blood Championship against Starlight Kid and Karma. And that is a match that is official that will take place next month, New Blood 9. And of course, they had a press conference. And of course, chaos ensued as Tomoka Inaba, after the challenge was accepted, decided to Mirko Crocop. There's my other MMA reference. Mirko Crocop, Starlight Kid, right in the head. So I thought it was like, well, another uneventful, wink, wink, press conference from Stardom. Co-main event saw the Future Stardom Championship, Ami Sohrei take on Rina. Rob and I, we had a double lock on that last match, and we actually got one right. So one in a row for us, as we were 100% sure that Karma and Starlight Kid would retain, and they did. So one in a row for us. This is a match that we did disagree on. Ami Sohrei defending the Future Stardom Championship against Rina. I did say I think that Rina would take the belt, just not yet. I think that they maybe would do a little more with Ami as the Future Stardom Champion, and Rina, as much as she's just so entertaining and so good in the ring at only 16 years old, I thought maybe they would break her down here just to build her back up a little bit, and then maybe have her win the belt in 3 or 4 months' time. But they decided to pull the trigger on it a little earlier than I thought, which was fine. Sorry there, folks. Gotta get a little drink. But I thought this match was great. Again, you have the speed and the quickness and maybe the deviancy of one Oedo Tai's Rina versus the strength and the power of Ami Sohrei. Really enjoyed how Rina was working the arm here onto Ami Sohrei, which really sets up the finish as she's going the her version of the octopus. And it gets to the point where Ami Sohrei just throwing bombs, chops, forearms, slamming, Blue Thunder Bomb, and Oedo Tai comes in for the interference, and this time much better than the Momo match. Distracts the ref, and you have the two people that come in to beat up Ami is Tora and Momo, which is genius booking, because the reason why they had Tora and Momo there to beat up Ami Sohrei, again, not in front of the referee, the ref was blind the whole entire time, have no problem with that cheating, is because Natsuko Tora and Momo Watanabe are next in line and will be challenging next week Ami Sohrei and Mirai for the Goddess of Stardom Championship. So you got a lot of stories told in this match, and you're building towards the big tag match coming up at the end of this month. So I thought that was genius. So you figured, okay, this is going to be the basically the kiss of death for Ami Sohrei. This is what's going to put her down, is this double team work from the number one contenders. Rina locks in her version of the octopus stretch. It looks like Ami's going to tap out. Ami gets to the rope. So now you're going up and down on the emotional roller coaster. Now you're thinking, okay, Ami's going to come back through all these odds and get this win. She has her comeback. She's firing up, and then she gets caught back in the octopus. And then she taps out. It's not a roll up. It's not, obviously Momo and Tora did run the interference, but it wasn't that did her in. It was the second version, or the second attempt on the octopus stretch. I really liked the way that they finished up. I thought that was great. You saw the pure emotion of Rina. I had this at 4 stars. This was my favorite match of the show. And then afterwards, we see Lady C come out and challenge Rina. So we do have 2 title matches set for New Blood 9 next month. Rina defending the Artist Stardom Championship against Lady C, and as I've mentioned before, the Inaba sisters taking on Starlight Kid and Karma for the New Blood Championship. Match number 8, the main event. Again, you're putting star power on this match. You love her or hate her. I don't think there's anybody that really hates Tam Nakano. As much as Rob kind of leans into that, he doesn't. I think he loves Tam Nakano. But you had fake Tam versus real Tam here, and I thought the build-up for this was funny. Again, you're getting star power on this match. You're getting the big star. You're getting the World of Stardom champion Tam Nakano on this loaded and free, on YouTube New Blood show. I thought the fake Tam, I thought she did a good job doing all Tam stuff. But ultimately, this was just an entertaining match. This is just what it was. You weren't going to get Omega Okada. You're not going to get Steamboat Flair. It was fun. There was a one point in time where Tam was just really laying into fake Tam and waylaying or just beating her up on the outside. I believe there was a fake Natsupoi too. That was in fake Tam's corner. I thought that was really funny. She takes her fake red belt, rips it in front of her, eventually just beats her down. just almost like abusive. Tam eventually it's a Twilight Dream for the pinfall. It was fine. 3 3/4 stars. It kind of reminded me of, again, I'm been a wrestling fan a long, long time. Reminded me of SummerSlam '94, The Undertaker versus The Undertaker. And if anybody that knows that or looks back on it, they think it was like this corny thing that they did back in '94. But I was 12 when that match happened. I thought it was the coolest thing. There was no, if you didn't work for NASA, there was no internet. There was no really, the dirt sheets were out, but I was 12 years old. I wasn't subscribing to the Observer. So I thought it was really cool. You have this superpower Undertaker, the dead man. And he goes away at Royal Rumble '94 in the casket match with Yokozuna. And then, the $1 Million Man who brought the Undertaker in 1990, it's like, no, I have the Undertaker. And Paul Bear's like, that's not my Undertaker. So I know I'm going on a long, long way here. So you had this really cool Undertaker versus Undertaker story. When you're 12 years old, it's the coolest thing. That's what this kind of reminded me. You had fake Tam and real Tam. It was funny. It was entertaining. I don't think you're going to be seeing this one run back for the World of Stardom Championship at a Cork and Hall. But it was entertaining. It was what it was. And overall, a super, super fun show. Folks, let's get into the main event of the show. For the 14th of May, Cork and Hall, last Jumbo Princess Himeka's retirement ceremony, which winds up being a retirement match. This is the only match that was uploaded on Stardom World, so this is the only match I'm going to do a review. Sold out Cork and Hall. I believe it was 1,509 people, I think was reported. I know it was a little bit over 1,500, but you can tell just as soon as you hit the play button on this segment. There's not a seat in that house. It's an ass over 18 inches. That's exactly what you want as a promoter. When we reviewed this show last week, we're like, the card is kind of lackluster. It's Stardom. It's going to be a great show, but for a Corkin, it's kind of it didn't really seem like there was going to be too many matches that you're really going to kind of go out of your way to see. And then we find out why. This is literally, I'm sure, the undercard, which I will watch when it comes up, and I'm sure I will enjoy. I'm sure it's really good wrestling in Stardom. It's the best roster in the world. It's the best wrestling company in the world. I'm sure it was a fantastic show. But what ultimately this show is going to be remembered for a long, long time is this hour-plus segment of Himeka's retirement. Himeka comes out. She's in the gown, that she had for a retirement match with Micah. All of a sudden, Mina says, no, you're going to be running a 30-person gauntlet. And I kind of got wind of this on Twitter maybe about a few hours after this happened. And I was waiting for people to say, wait a minute, her retirement match was supposed to be with Micah at All-Star Grand Queendom. That's what I thought. I thought we'd get some of the haters, but there was none of that. There was none of that ever. It's just nobody really said anything. They said, good on her. And if you've seen this really wasn't a match. It was everybody. They had 30 wrestlers on the Stardom roster. Well, some not on the Stardom roster. Basically having a minute in the ring to say goodbye to Himeka. And some of it wasn't even a match. Like for example, you take like Saida. She came in, she posed, and then as soon as the minute time limit was up, she chopped Himeka. And that was it. Like everybody had their way of saying goodbye to her, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful. Like, yeah, she comes out in the dress, and then she's like, oh, let me take off my dress, and she just magically happens to have her gear and her boots on and her knee pads. Like, what are the odds, right? As a wrestler, always come prepared, even on your last night. I kind of noticed as these mini matches were happening, that every match had a 1 minute time limit. Aya Sakurai gets pinned, Hanako gets pinned 1-2 right in a row. Saida comes in, she does the pose off. They don't even touch until Saida chops her after the bell rings for the 1 minute time limit. So I kind of figured, okay, everybody's going to go out there. She'll have maybe mini matches here and there. Everybody's just going to take it easy, and we're going to have this beautiful segment to say goodbye to Himeka, except for one person. I know that once Hazuki gets in there, she's not going to take it easy at all. As we always say, she's in fifth gear all the time. It's one of the many reasons why we love Hazuki. However, Hana, her stablemate, decided that Hana was 8th, Hazuki was 10th. I think Hana saw that on the run sheet she was 2 before Hazuki, so she decided to go on her own and her to be the first one to go 100 miles an hour on Himeka. And you go back and watch it, like as soon as Hana gets in the ring, she does the judo throw from hell and almost drives Himeka right through the canvas. And it's just so impressive because Himeka is obviously one of the bigger wrestlers on the roster, and Hana she's not, that really big or that intimidating, but she gets that judo throw, and the way she pops her hips, so darn impressive. So darn impressive. Hana's just fantastic. Then after that, you have Koguma come in, and of course, we get the final bear dance. Then Hazuki comes in and just boots Himeka right to the face, and then for the better part of the last 30 seconds, just rains down forearms on her as like she's knocked out, and the bell rings, and Hazuki's like all pissed off because she only had a minute of violence to inflict. I thought that was great, just adding on to the Hazuki. We love Hazuki. We love violence. Ongoing story we have on here on the Stardom Cast. Hazuki's just the best. Then Amisori gets in there and she tries to pick up poor Himeka, and then she's out. She's out. So Amisori really only does a handful of double chops because then her time's up. And then Izumi comes in at 13, unlucky 13 for Himeka. And how is she going to say goodbye to Himeka, who's been in there, for 13 minutes now, is exhausted, knowing that she's still got about, almost another 20 to go. And what does she do? What's her way to say goodbye to Himeka? Let's have a race on top of Korakuen Hall. Now, yeah, Izumi is one of the fastest wrestlers in the world, and who's fresh. And your poor Himeka's, her adrenaline's up, her adrenaline's down. It's her retirement. She comes out with a big entrance, and then she just wrestled literally a dozen 1-minute matches. And now it's like Izumi wants to race her on top of Korakuen Hall. So they do the split screen. By the time Izumi is almost at the ring, poor Himeka is only like at the top of Korakuen Hall, and she decides, I'm just going to walk down. So as soon as she gets in the ring, Izumi gives her the Izumi Sushi. Himeka kicks out, and then she goes to the corner where Izumi tries to pull her out to pin her again. And poor Himeka's just exhausted. Eventually, you get Saki Kashima comes in there right afterwards. She just rolls her up with the Kishikasai. And then it turns into a basically all of Oedo Tai just happen to draw the next numbers. And it's just Oedo Tai doing the Oedo Tai Korakuen Hall style brawl. Momo Watanabe comes in, Natsuko Tora, Starlight Kid, Rina, Ruaka, all come in and just pitch Himeka into the chairs. Maybe it's a little colder on that floor, giving a little breather. From time to time, you did see Micah coming in and giving her water. But I thought that was a cool little thing. You just had like 5 minutes of just Oedo Tai beating up poor Himeka. What a way to say goodbye to her. Miyu comes in and they don't have a match. She comes in and she said, hey, let's play baseball. And Miyu decides to be the pitcher, and Himeka is the batter, and Daichi is the referee. And their very first pitch, Miyu throws a little bit low, and it hits Daichi a little bit low as well. That was a great little segment. That was funny. Everybody was laughing. Korakuen Hall popped. Eventually, as the time limit expires, Himeka does hit her home run and gets to round the bases. And then after that, Sherry comes in and just kicks the bejesus out of Himeka and then taps her out. We get a really, really cool spot with Natsupoi. Obviously, you had their up and down relationship when they were part of My Himi. It looked like that they were going to tease a breakup with the three of them, and then eventually they wind up winning that ladder match. I think it was Tokyo Super Wars or Kawasaki Super Wars. It was sometime towards the end of the fall of last year, where they, it seemed like they were a rock, they were good to go, and then obviously in the summer of last year, Natsupoi turns on Julia and Donald Del Mundo to join Tam Nakano and Cosmic Angels. And obviously the one that takes it the hardest is Himeka, because that seemed like they were probably her closest friend. And Donald Del Mundo, she seemed like she was hurt the most. And then as we saw in Natsupoi these last 6 or 7 months, her and Himeka, they did a great job playing in that story on their multi-person tag matches. We saw them squash the beef a little bit on this Himeka retirement road tour. They did have the singles match, and then they had that really good tag match with Mel Tier versus My Himi as well. So you saw them squash the beef a little bit. The whole entire minute was the two of them. They slap each other for a few times, and then Natsupoi sits on Himeka's knee like they did when they were part of My Himi Boy, part of Donald Del Mundo for the photo op as they run the time limit out, and they give a big hug. And at that point, tears starting to coming to Matt Turner's eye. Mina Shirakawa comes in, and it's just basically a big hug fest. Then we're getting towards our last few opponents. You have Julia coming in at number 29 of 30. And the two of them slap each other for a few times, and then they hug. And when they hug, Julia basically pulls guard and lets Himeka pin her for the 1, 2, 3. I don't think Himeka's ever gotten a pinfall win over Julia. Obviously, they were part of Donald Del Mundo together. But when they were in Donald Del Mundo, Mike and Himeka, if you remember, they were the Goddess champions, and they did lose to Shuri and Julia, the ALK sisters. So I don't think Himeka ever got a proper pinfall over Julia and hey, good way to send her out. Pinned her on a hug, hug it out. This leads into match number 30. The final thing we will see is you see Saya and Utami both get in the ring saying, no, I want to be your last opponent. I want to be your last opponent. And then Himeka's like, well, I need a partner. And then everybody, worst kept secret. Everybody knows what's going to happen. Everybody starts chanting for Micah. They get in the ring. And again, it's only a minute. It's a match I would love to see them go 15, 20 minutes. Obviously, a match that we will probably never get. I know it's wrestling, never say never. But they go about a minute and they kind of tease more Saya and Utami breakup there as the two of them. Saya hits the top rope splash onto Himeka, and then Utami pulls her off because she wants to get the pinfall. Eventually, the bell rings. The two of them not seeing eye to eye. I said at the beginning of the podcast, bads come in threes. They don't come in fours. Please do not break up Aphrodite and Queen's Quest, which I don't think they're going to. Another story for another day. Eventually, Himeka is out of breath. We take a little break. The camera cuts. She comes back for her proper retirement ceremony, where we see all the factions coming in, giving her gifts. I was a big fan of Oedo Tai, basically giving her a T-shirt of what Himeka would look like if she was Starlight Kid, Momo Watanabe, Ruaka, Tora, so on and so forth. Basically, the avatars of all the members of Oedo Tai. And as much as I want that shirt and would like to buy that shirt, the part of me kind of hopes that Stardom does not make that shirt. Kind of want that to be kind of a 1-1. Maybe the only person that shouldn't own it should be Himeka. You saw Nene Takahashi come out. Obviously, Donald Del Mundo giving her loads and loads of gifts. So many flowers that poor Himeka had to load into her car or the back of the tour bus. Jun Akiyama comes out, which I did know because somebody tweeted at me. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of 90s All Japan. Jun Akiyama is obviously a huge staple of the King's Road style, in the 90s for All Japan. Still working at a high rate now. But I was tipped off to that, and I forgot about it when they mentioned Jun Akiyama's name. Corkin Hall popped huge. Obviously, Jun Akiyama, a huge influence on Himeka. The jumbo knee that she does was passed from Jumbo Tsuruta to Jun Akiyama, and then Jun Akiyama taught it to Himeka. So I thought that was great. That was beautiful. And beautiful ceremony. It was fun. It was funny. We got a match. We had an over an hour plus ceremony. And I was, there was some tears coming down old Matt Turner's face. I was really trying to keep it together. And then at the very end, they play "Let's Burn Some Fire" on the dance floor, her theme song one last time. And Donald Del Mundo, Julia Tekla, May Sakurai, and Micah carry her out of the building, sold out Corkin Hall. And they basically show all that group hugging right in the entranceway. Well, kind of be the exit way because they're exiting that way. And that's when the tears started flowing. Got a little dusty onions, as they say. Dusty onions in the Turner household. And then as they're going down the hallway, basically all arm in arm, they show Natsupoi and Tam. And Natsupoi is just so happy that she kind of, that was what a perfect ending of a fantastic career. Short career, but I think Natsupoi was just happy that they were able to bury their beef in front of the crowd. Like storyline wise, it's done and over with. And the last of the Jumbo Princess, and boy, what a way to go out. I mean, we can be talking about this retirement ceremony for years and years and years, and I hope that we have time next week to get Rob's thoughts on it, because I did tell him, again, we recorded yesterday, we record all the time, and I did tell him, I said, make sure before you go to bed, that you have to watch this retirement ceremony, because it's got to be the main event, the main crux of our podcast for tomorrow, and I do want to get Rob's thoughts on it, and I can talk about it, for hours and hours, but she announced her retirement. She got this 3-month run, which doesn't happen often, or really at all. I mean, look at some of the best retirement ceremonies. Look at Ric Flair after WrestleMania 24. And I know, obviously, he came back to wrestling, and he wrestled, again, just, a handful of months ago at 70-some years old, which is still just, crazy, and God bless him. And when he retired after Mania 24, he was very adamant that he didn't want to retire, that it's basically, Vince kind of forcing him out, and he still wanted to wrestle, but they gave him a great send-off. But at the same time, just like Shawn Michaels 2 years later, it was if they lost their match. If Ric Flair lost to Shawn Michaels at 24, he'd retire. Fast forward 2 years later, if Shawn lost to The Undertaker at 26, he would retire. So it's like you still, even though you kind of figured, okay, that's got to be their last match, there was still that possibility that wasn't going to be their last match. When Himeka said back in, I want to say February, when she announced her retirement, she's like, this is going to be my last match with Micah. It's going to be on All Star Grand Queendom. It was the first match announced and the biggest show ever from Stardom. And then she laid out what she wanted to do. She's had great the great tag matches. Again, Mike and Himeka versus Meltier, Mike and Himeka versus ALK, which was the last my Hemi match. Great match with Mina, Ami, Sori, Ruaka. She wanted to do like a death match with Prominence. Our hardcore match. She got all that. She had a great singles match with Julia. Main event of the first night of Cinderella tournament was her and Tam Nakano. They had like an 8-9 minute barn burner. So you had all these great matches that you had 3 months of the last Jumbo Princess. And we're so fortunate that we got it. She was still healthy. Like you look at like Kenta Kobashi's retirement. His neck and his knees were just shot. And they did that final burning show, which if you haven't seen the whole show, is dedicated to Kenta Kobashi, and they sold out Corkin Hall, or not Corkin Hall, excuse me, Budokan Hall, which is, a very famous venue that they ran in the 90s for All Japan. I don't know, it was like 15, 16,000. And, how do you have, when you have that legendary career like Kobashi, how do you have like a final, like who do you pick for your final opponents and final teammates? And you kind of had the newer generation, the older generation there. Obviously, Masawa passed away a few years prior. Kawada just walked away from wrestling, so you couldn't have those two staples. So the fact that you did have her, and I will say her final match was the match with Micah. I mean, that's her final match. Where this was just a 30-minute exhibition. Everybody had 1 minute to say goodbye to her. And I just thought that was beautiful. I thought the way that Stardom did it couldn't have been any better. And considering the fact that Himeka, she's great, we all love her, but she never was like a huge, huge star for the company. She never held the red belt. She never held the white belt. Even the Goddess run with her and Micah 2 years ago was probably ended a lot sooner than we wanted to. But it kind of made sense. Sherry and Julia were kind of the hot team at the time. But I guess it just goes to show how much respect and love Stardom in the locker room has for Himeka, and probably always will. She was only there under 3 years. She was only a wrestler for 5 years. And for Stardom, again, the best, in my opinion, hands down, the best wrestling company in the world, the hottest wrestling company in the world, the second biggest wrestling company in Japan, and I think the fourth or fifth biggest wrestling company in the world, for them to give her like that 3 month send off that they did, it's perfect. I mean, I don't think anybody could have written any better. If you were to, ask any writer, booker, promoter, any quote unquote expert on Stardom, can you write out a better 2.5, 3 months for Himeka to finish her career? I don't think anybody could have come up with that. Again, the matches she had, the Hashimoto match, the matches she had were all just great. She didn't dog anything. She left nothing in the tank. That final match with Micah was absolute stellar. And just the finish with Micah saying, no, keep fighting, and then hitting her with the shoot headbutt, and then two Michinoku drivers, and then the two of them kind of walking arm in arm off that giant stage in Yokohama Arena. And then we have this, where I thought it was just going to be a retirement ceremony, but just it was a 30-minute exhibition match. And then just afterwards, she goes back, puts the dress on, and you just have the legends that come out, and the factions come out, literally giving her flowers and gifts. And then, like I said, just it broke me up a little when Donald Del Mundo carried her out, and then when they get to the entranceway at Cork and all, they have one last team hug, and that was it. Goodbye for the Jumbo Princess. I think we all do, and Himeka doesn't owe this to anybody. No wrestler owes this to anybody. Um, I hope we see more of her. I hope we see her maybe from time to time, maybe helping out like with the booking or coming in, maybe doing some of the broadcast, guest announcer in some of these bigger shows. I'd love to see her back maybe from time to time. Like maybe if they brought her in for not announcer, commentator, or announcer, we'll take that too. But she did like the commentator, like they, how they bring like Liger and like Nagata in from time to time. Maybe they'll bring her on like night one of the 5-star, the final of the 5-star as a commentator, as we saw like New Japan do with Chono. That's something I would love to see. Again, she does not owe anything to anybody, but obviously this is the last we'll see of the Jumbo Princess as an in-ring competitor, and literally beyond perfect way for her to go out. We will obviously have, we will talk about her often in glowing terms on this podcast. As always, if you ever want to talk to me about anything, or you just want to just reflect back on the fantastic, short but yet fantastic career she did so much in such little time of one Himeka, you know how to get a hold of me, folks. And I think that is probably the best way to end this show. So let's end this one. This one we did keep under 2 hours, so how about that? Because it was just me. If Rob was here, who knows how long this would have went on. But folks, thank you so much for bearing with me. Thanks so much for just hanging with me on this one-man show for this week. Again, we will be back next week. We will be previewing the Flashing Champions pay-per-view, and we will be loading up what we were doing for our fantastic Patreon members over at the Stardom Cast for the month of June. If you want to get a hold of me, any questions, comments, suggestions, Matt Turner OF on the Instagram and or the Twitter is the best way to get a hold of me. If you want to shoot me an email, by all means, you can do that. The StardomCast22@gmail.com is the best way to get a hold of me via the email. Folks, we cannot say thank you enough for all the fantastic reviews that we've been getting. Please keep those 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts coming. Really helps with the algorithm out, helps get this podcast out, which in turn helps get out the world of Stardom and the world and word of Stardom as well. Appreciate the support. Appreciate all the great and positive comments that I've been getting literally on a daily basis. It means the world to us. Like I always say, folks, just not my podcast. It's our podcast because we're all in this together and everybody's different. Everybody's special. Thanks again. Have a great day and a great night.